course, there's so much ground to cover. ABC 7 has made a timeline for you of these recent events with the El Paso ISD board to keep you up to date. As reported on May 3rd, in the uniform election, the layout of the board changed. Board President Leah Hanani and District 3 trustee Jack Loveridge were re-elected to the board. The seat for District 4 was won by Mindy Sutton, and Robert Osterland won the District 5 seat. On May 20th, the newly elected board voted to keep Lamar Elementary open. That was one of the 8 schools slated for closure after the previous school board voted to close it back in November, citing the multi-million-dollar deficit. Trustees Valerie Beals and Daniel Call voted against Lamar, citing it would take $3 million to operate Lamar on top of that deficit. Well, fast forward for May 23rd. The district's agenda is released. In it, we see that item to discuss Superintendent Saavedra's employment status. Saavedra began her position back in 2022, but her contract doesn't end until 2029. And last night, the board decided to take no action on the superintendent, but it did vote to hire an outside law firm that specializes in superintendent searches.
And to extra perspective, in last night's board meeting, trustee Daniel Call and allegedly breaking a non-disclosure agreement in regards to a former superintendent candidate and the current board president. ABC 7's Lauren Bly joins us live with more.
Nani of trying to hire her previous employer during the hiring of a superintendent in 2021, Superintendent of Marlin ISD, Daryl Henson. Former board president Israel Irobali says
Tell you, in all the private conversations during the entire superintendent search, Leah Hanani was calling me advocating for Daryl Henson without disclosing that she was working for him actively at the time. And from the conversations I've had with other trustees, it appears that seems to be the status quo of what happened throughout the entire process.
Last night, the board also voting 4-2, with new board member Mindy Sutton abstaining to contract an outside law firm for legal services for a new superintendent search. Call objecting to that because he said they didn't follow the normal procurement process.
Usually there's a competitive bidding process and we pick the best one.
Yet this time the only person to choose the firm was Leah Hanani.
But then I found out later in the meeting that this law firm, surprise, surprise, represents Daryl Henson and Marlin ISD.
And I did reach out to Leah Hanani for an interview. She instead released this statement. Quote, trustee Daniel Call's assertion is categorically and emphatically untrue. The board cannot comment on personnel matters. Call saying,
she's trying to dump our superintendent and, hire somebody to replace her. And I'm really concerned that that's going to be one of her friends or one of her associates or possibly even Dr. Daryl Henson again, which I'm told that he's parting ways with Marlin ISD, which is really interesting timing.
Call also told me he expects an investigation into EPISD by the Texas Education Agency. And I reached out to the TEA. They said, quote, there is no investigation into El Paso ISD at this time. Reporting live in studio, Lauren Bly, ABC 7.